This is RamView. Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the January 12th, 2026 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And of course, by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, sports ball games. I'm not going to be able to show you the slides because I'm doing old school right now. Couldn't get set up. Going to go on real fast today. Monday Night Football is about to start in about 45 minutes. Couldn't do a whole show. Found out my car was completely ruled as a totaled out. Guy who hit me had no license, no insurance, didn't speak English, nothing of the sort. So my day was a little bit out of whack. So thank you for being here. We're not restreaming right now. We're just working off of YouTube, which means I lose some of my graphics and everything. So thank you for being here. The Texans are getting ready to go against the Steelers, and I've picked the Texans. And it's important to watch this because this could be the last hurrah for Aaron Rodgers. We don't know, right? We don't know. I think if Mike Tomlin is moving on, I think the odds of Aaron Rodgers coming back are pretty much nil. And Rodgers needs a unique coaching situation, right? He needs a situation where, maybe he goes to Kansas City and he fills in for 8 weeks while Patrick Mahomes goes on the mend, right? Where does Aaron Rodgers land if he's not playing for a coach like Tomlin? I'd say he'd play for a coach like Harbaugh, but those guys, one is without a job, and the other one, and you don't know where he's going to land, and then of course the other one does have a quarterback who everyone's taking shots at. But one of the things, before I get into the stuff we kind of hit on this morning, was the fact is I was watching the game and I didn't get real emotional on Saturday. Even when Bryce Young threw that perfect pass for the go-ahead touchdown, which it was, you can't fault Cam Curl on that play. And there were several plays and throws that Bryce Young made. But as I'm watching this, I said, I'm going to enjoy watching Matthew Stafford. I'm just going to enjoy watching him because the times we get to see him take a snap, we see him get to throw, we get to see him at the line of scrimmage, these times are fleeting. And I don't know if he's coming back next year. We hope he's coming back next year. And if everything ends well, maybe he could come back or should come back next year. He is under contract. But the idea is that these are good moments, man, that you got to really enjoy. Because no matter who the Rams get afterwards, if Jimmy G's the bridge to somebody else, let's say the fantasy comes true, someone suggested, and I thought it was a neat idea, Rams win the Super Bowl, number 32 pick, they draft Tristan Chambliss out of Ole Miss if he doesn't get his legal stuff worked out with the NCAA. And then Jimmy G fills in. Jimmy G's not going to be Matthew Stafford. And I'll say this too. I love Josh Allen. I really do. And I think Josh Allen's going to get to that point. But, man, there's just so much that Matt Stafford does, so much that he does pre-snap, right? And even McVay pointed that out in the postgame is how he looked at he's seen the whole field, as McVay says, and how Stafford was able to adjust the blocking. And he was able to stay upright for the most part. He was able to stay upright and clean on that final drive. When the Rams needed a push, they got a push. The offensive line wasn't perfect, but you know what? It was pretty doggone good. And so I just wanted to enjoy those, and I didn't get emotional because we know where this team is at. This team is all over the yard. And, folks, we have to accept that they can go in, and I stuff, no doubt at all, they could put a 40-burger on that Chicago defense. They really can. And they could just as likely give up a 40-burger in Chicago. And I have to accept it. While I think it's probably the best team in football, they don't always play like the best team. And so I'm not going to be I'm not going to be to the point of breaking things when something bad happens. And so it was a unique experience to watch it on Saturday. And I wasn't stressed. I wasn't stressed because I expected what was happening. But again, it was kind of just beautiful just to enjoy Matthew Stafford, right? And what a great, the football gods, small g, sports karma, not a spiritual karma, a sports karma, that after 12 years of the Gulag Archipelago, in Detroit, that he gets to finish his career in LA with a high profile seasons where people see him. And so, I like Matthew Stafford. And I do love the quote about let's snatch it from their hearts. That one was beautiful. ESG, thank you for clicking on. I do appreciate you guys being here. The Sonas are happy their team made the playoffs, and that's good for them. Keep the fans coming to the games, but this is Los Angeles. We only care about winners. Okay, so Sonas, help me with that one, man. But I know what you mean, especially with this group. If you were a Ram fan in the middle part of the beginning of this century, from 2006 through 2016, those 11 years of darkness, if you were a Ram fan in that period, if you remember the prayers we would offer, right? Oh, please, just let them finish 500. Oh, please, just let them make the playoffs. They don't have to win, but just let them get to the playoffs. And then, of course, it keeps progressing. But now McSnead was already there, and then McVay came, and McSnead got together in 2017. It does feel like an unsuccessful season if you haven't gone to at least an NFC championship game, right? And so far, we haven't lost an NFC championship game with McVay. Oh, the Spanos, yes. I was talking about the Chargers. Okay, I got you, ESG. Thank you. Yeah, we'll talk about that on the backside. And I want to take your questions. And again, I do apologize for not doing restream. But again, this is like bang, bang, because I know I don't want to take anyone away from the game. I want to watch the game myself. But that was the question that I opened this morning with. Excuse me. Let me drink some coffee, huh? Were any concerns alleviated other than we know Stafford's a great quarterback? We know this team can come back. Were any concerns alleviated? It still wasn't 4 quarters of football, right? Third quarter was a wash for the Rams. Let that third quarter just let it die. So there was only 3 quarters there. Second quarter, I think they scored at the top of the second quarter. But everything else after that was a disaster. So no, again, no 4 quarters of football. They didn't play 3. They only played 1 quarter of football against the Cardinals in week 18. And then they didn't play any football in Atlanta, right? And so they just don't put it together. Even against Detroit, the first half, they didn't play well in the first half. And so we still haven't. So there's something maybe to be optimistic about is this team knows it hasn't achieved anything, and maybe it knows it has to work a little bit harder, and maybe they get that focus together, because I think we could safely say the Rams haven't played their best football yet. I think even though they were picking off wins earlier in the year, they never really played their best football, right? Well, in a few spots, maybe, even in Arizona, when they blew out Arizona, they still gave up the opening score for a touchdown. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for the Rams maybe not playing their best football, but my concerns aren't alleviated. I think I told Stan and I told you guys that the Rams would have to win by 40 points and hold the Panthers to 14 points for my concerns to be alleviated, and they're not. Let's see. ESG, Shula needs to get more aggressive the bigger lead we have. I don't know what's going on there, but now all of a sudden our cornerback room looks a little thin, doesn't it? I haven't heard anything on Darius Williams. And I am kind of concerned because Akilla Witherspoon's back on the IR. So you're riding with Forbes, you're riding with Durant, and you're riding with Roger McCreary. Josh Wallace might be back. Quentin Lake, who looked a little slow in that slot position, didn't he? So you're riding with those things. And yeah, so there could be some struggle there. Is that I liked it better when there was a rotation of corners. Darian Kendrick was inactive. I think he will be active this week. So something, again, to keep an eye on when you consider those Bears receivers. But the advantage is those guys aren't as big as A.J. Brown. They're not as big as Tet McMillan and Coker and some of those guys and Leggett there are in Carolina. So there might be a little easier matchup there. Plus, I think the Bears, I'll get into this later this week, but the Bears look like they've lost their left tackle. So there is opportunity here. And so I am concerned about the cornerback room. And so I'm wondering if that plays into any of Shula's dealings and thinkings. If he sticks around, I'm not going to have a problem. Everyone gets better. He's going to get better. This guy's a hard worker. This guy's been in the organization since McVay got there and worked his way up the line. So this guy doesn't cut corners. He never would have gotten the job, right? But he should stick around. He definitely should stick around. I don't think he should go. I think it would be a bad move. Let's see. ESG, before the finger injury, Stafford was missing some receivers. The finger injury was after the throw to Adams, right? After the throw to Adams and the one that he missed Adams going up the sideline. And again, I think Stafford sets the bar so high that what are you going to do, right? It is like he sets the bar so high. When he missed Xavier Smith in Atlanta, it was like, how can that be? But it does happen every once in a while. And of course, people aren't sweating things out and checking their heart rates as much if Nakua holds on to that ball. That's a touchdown, which is after the finger injury. And bringing up the finger injury, I don't know if you and I touched on it, but you and I touched on it, USA Expat this morning, was okay, that was a personal foul on Landman. Football's not football anymore. When they called that personal foul on Landman before the Bears scored, then there's not such a thing as football. That was a ridiculous call. It was ridiculous for whoever the guy in the booth there from the NFL, former official, that says, "Oh, that was a good call." It was a ridiculous call. It's a stupid call. But no one talked about the blow to Matthew Stafford's head when he got hit in the finger. Did you see him take it in the head and on top of the helmet? Where's the forcible blow there? No one called anything. And again, this is part of the problem, the inconsistency the NFL has. And when you have inconsistency, that's when people begin to doubt. That's when people begin to speculate. And that's when you begin to go, what the blank is going on with these prop bets? Just throwing it out there. Chris Childers, Rams going to the Super Bowl this year. They can go to the Super Bowl this year. That's the beauty of it, right? If I was going to pick any of the teams that are left in the NFL right now, we've beaten the Titans. I'm not afraid of them. I'm sorry, the Texans. I'm not afraid of the Steelers. Steelers aren't going to get there. Jacksonville kind of had me worried in a rematch. I'm not worried about Josh Allen and the miracles. Vrabel has always given the Rams a tough time, even when he was in Tennessee. And that one makes me a little bit concerned because I think Drake May's a really good quarterback. And that one makes me a little bit concerned. Could you imagine going to the Super Bowl again and losing to the Patriots for a third time? Man, talk about welcome to my nightmare, right? That would just be the worst possible outcome, right? Yeah, I definitely think the Rams go to the Super Bowl, but I also think they can lose by 2 touchdowns on Sunday. I do. Because you just haven't seen consistency out of this team. ESG. He actually got some good throws after the finger. Yeah, that one that Nakua dropped was brutal. USA Expat, Devontae made a career out of beating Chicago. Yeah, the weather, I've heard, the first initial thing I heard about the weather was single digits. And again, Stafford, NFC North, Devontae Adams, NFC North, Puka Nakua, Washington, BYU. They're used to weather. I'm not worried about that. Kyron Williams, Notre Dame. Alaric Jackson, left tackle, Iowa, right? I'm not worried about these guys. Even Coleman Shelton, center, played at Washington. So the Rams, I'm not worried about the weather. It's not like the 70s So I'm not worried about the weather. You just want to see this team come out and ball, right? That's all. You want to see them blow the doors like the Packers did early on against the Bears and then finish the sucker. And that's the problem, finishing the sucker. Rams could put 40 up, but I want it to be 40-0 or 40-point lead with 10 minutes to play in the fourth quarter, because if not, they'll find a way, right? And we see a pattern here. Maybe it's a Super Bowl pattern. If you remember, they had that huge lead in Tampa Bay. I think Cam Akers fumbled at the goal line to end the first half in that game. And otherwise, it might have been even more, but it was like 27-3 at one point, 28-3, somewhere in there. And then Brady brought them all the way back. And you remember the disasters. What's his name? Jalen Ramsey got beat deep. The snap over Stafford's head or to the side of Stafford that got by. Everything went wrong that could go wrong. Brady brings them back and ties it. And then, of course, the love of the game play, right? And we get out of that one. We're losing at the start of the fourth quarter in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers in 2021, January 2022. And we came back and won. So they've never taken the easy route. And I just haven't accepted it yet or adjusted to it. But it is what the Rams do. It is what the Rams do. $5 Steve. The old shell scheme you don't like might work this week because Caleb falls into hero ball sometimes. You're right, Steve. I know I rail about that a little bit too much maybe, but yeah, first half of the season, the defense was playing good ball. And, up until that Carolina game, what did they say? We limited all those explosives, right? There weren't those explosive plays. And now we're giving them up all the time. So you're right. You're right, Steve. That Fangio business would work. Tim Burns, McVay not taking the field goal to go up 13 and drive a stake through the struggling team. Bad juju. It was unnecessary. I get you on that, right? I get you on that. I'm guilty sometimes. I don't think I'm a fanboy, but I'm guilty of trusting McVay too much. Yeah, I don't know what he would say now about it. I don't know if he was asked about it. But the one thing someone else hit on it, and I thought it was a good point, is whether or not it's a touchdown or a field goal, you don't want to give them any momentum, right? You just don't want to give them any momentum. And maybe McVay was just looking to put them away. And is it a distrust of Mevis? I'm starting to trust Mevis. I don't know how you feel, but I'm starting to trust Mevis. USA Expat, a potential rematch versus the Patriots stands no chance versus your Lucky Sox. That's right? The Marshalls. I call them the Marshalls. They're right there. Not been worn since February of 2022. I wore them through the whole playoffs. And again, I'm leaving it up to you guys if I should put them on during the postseason. I did not put them on last Saturday. I'm going to be watching this game from camp on Sunday. I don't know if I want to take them to camp. I don't know if they should be removed from the set for that. But if it's the NFC Championship game, should I put them on? $5 Steve. Root for the Steelers tonight. If Steelers win, Rams game is probably at noon. Otherwise, likely at 3:30 if the Texans win. Good point. I didn't know that's where it was, but if you say so, I didn't look at that. Yeah, daytime game much better in Chicago, right? Daytime game much better in Chicago. ESG, the Philadelphia Eagles offense is what we thought they were. That was, Philly, man. Yeah, I kept giving them the benefit of the doubt. They deserve the benefit of the doubt. Every time you thought they were dead, but man, Jalen Hurts did not look good. Could we say they've got to make a decision, right? Trade one of the receivers, rebuild your line, and then you could stick with Hurts. If not, trade Jalen Hurts and get another quarterback because he is not the quarterback to be thrown to Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, right? Wouldn't you think so? And Dallas Goedert and all their other guys there. He's not the quarterback for a downfield game. And we knew that. We've said that before. He's a great leader. He does everything else, but he's not a great passer. And that line that Brady had the other day about stay in the pocket. What are you leaving the pocket for? That was very telling when he said that. So, the Eagles, man. The Eagles fell apart. King is dead. Thank goodness. We said it. Not that I've gotten anything right this year, but we did say They were already predicting a Philly run it back. And during the summer when we were talking, we talked a lot about that Philly was still going to be really good, be in the playoffs, but that they were going to take a step back, right? That they were going to take a step back. And they did. They took a step back. And again, as someone else said, they figure you out, right? And Philly was figured out. And also the tush push was a little bit less successful this year. Michael Negretti, Pastor Joe, I'm concerned with McVay calling the offense. The 3 plays called to Adams to start the second half, I know. Don't run him deep, but he's barely getting back from a hamstring. Start using all players. I think that was just a case of just coming out strong and wanting to get him involved, and everything. I get you. It looked so fast and so quick, those 3 plays to start the second half. You can't say that McVay wasn't aggressive, right? But we talked about it this morning on some of those 3rd and shorts, those 3rd and 1s, right? 3.5 yard, 3rd and 2. I would have liked them to either seen them run the ball or throw a short pass as opposed to winding up and going downfield, which was driving us a bit crazy here in the Ram cave. And the Rams do a pretty good job of using all the players. Higbee made a nice catch. Parkinson, obviously. No one talks about his one-handed catch there, right? Early in the game. That was beautiful. But Kyron should have had some more touches. Corum should have had some more touches. And in that aspect, I don't trust PFF, and I'm going to make a PFF comment. I don't trust their grading, but I don't know where they graded it. But, with Justin Dedick there, they are able to run the ball. They got a push against that Carolina front. So that was good. And looks like Kevin Dotson, they're optimistic this week. They haven't said absolutely sure he's going to play. But I felt they did sprinkle the ball around. And I just love the key play before going to Parkinson. Like Nakua, Adams, but the second to last play, they're going to Mumfield, right? 7th round pick, Mumfield, and he's making a play. And then it's Parkinson's. 3 years, 22.5 rocks, 15 guaranteed, and the Rams media, the KBM, was tearing him down last year, saying he was a bust. He was a bust. Forgetting again how everyone has told us over and over again, as we see by Higbee's survival, and Bryson Hopkins never seen the field hardly ever as a tight end. Gerald Everett given his walking papers, letting him go, is that tight end is the toughest position to play for Sean McVay. And Parkinson caught 30 passes last year. This year he's got 43. And somewhere, half dozen touchdowns. And Parkinson made the play. So they are spreading it around. I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. But the one thing about Nakua, though, it's a little bit of that Cup syndrome. We were always complaining that they're a little too Cooper Cup centric. But when you're that wide open, it's unbelievable. Tim Burns, I like Mevis. I go into his kicks expecting he'll succeed. He doesn't have any near misses, right? He doesn't have – if you remember Zerline had that knuckleball come off his right foot and it would go this way and bounce back in. I think Mevis is more consistent. No, so far so good. And those weren't huge kicks that he made in the second half, but they were meaningful kicks. And so I think hopefully the confidence in him grows and hopefully we just lock this position down for a half decade, right? That would be a beautiful thing. ESG, predicted weather for Sunday at Chicago, 18 degrees with 40% chance of snow. Man, it sounds like Ram weather, right? Let's do it. Sounds like Ram weather. I don't know if it's the Eagles' overreaction, but everyone is saying that A.J. Brown won't come back because he's a diva. But do you think he would fit in with the Rams? I think talent-wise, if a team can't find a way to make an A.J. Brown fit in, then that team isn't worthy of him. The problem is it's the persona, right? The Rams aren't going to pay him monster money to come in and be beholden to him because of that monster money, because of dead money they're going to owe. They're not going to let him in the locker room, right? He'd really have to have that OBJ adjustment, which OBJ did. OBJ came in. No one wanted OBJ. I didn't want OBJ, but he came in and he fit into the culture. Now, of course, that culture, you had Aaron Donald there, right? You had Andrew Whitworth there. You also had an experienced quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is not Jalen Hurts, right? Matthew Stafford doesn't have to put up with anything from A.J. Brown. If A.J. Brown's open, he's going to get hit, right? But the problem is between A.J. Brown's ears. He's not as bad as DK Metcalf, but he's kind of sputtering away all the goodwill that people want to have in him. He's Rod Tidwell, right? He's Rod Tidwell. He needs to be likable, and he's not. But that's the great question, though, that we asked about Philly a few minutes ago. Do you bring in a quarterback? Because it's certainly not Jalen Hurts. When you've got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, do you bring in a quarterback who can get them the ball and change what you do? Or do you get rid of one of those receivers and double down on a running game where Jalen Hurts fits in that, right? Jalen Hurts fits in that. But if you're looking at a downfield game and you want Hurts to pass from the pocket, we've known this. We've known this his whole career. He's got limitations for being a leader, being a solid dude. He's got limitations. And more every year, those things get exposed, because if you got receivers like Smith and Brown, you got to get them the freaking ball, and can't do it, right? Can't do it. It's like having Marty Domres trying to run the greatest show on Turf Attack. If you know who Marty Domre is, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see. Tim Burns, I don't want AJ. He's proved he can't back his mouth. Okay, there you go. Tim Burns, Dotson being out showed our offense isn't as fluid with him gone. It is obvious, but got it done. I am pro Justin Diedick. I'm pro those UDFAs. They make a great story here on RamView, but he's not the guy that you want there next week in Chicago, and he's not the guy you want out in Lumen or back at SoFi to close out the NFC. I totally get that. I want Dotson back because it just makes us that much better. I was told, not like I'm talking to Stan a little bit, but I was told that if it had been an NFC title game, Dotson probably would have played. But what happens is they got away with it. They won in Carolina with Diedick, bought Dotson another week, and hopefully he's back. I think if Dotson's ready to play, the next guy in line that I'm really concerned that I want to see on the field, because I think he is a difference maker, is Terrence Ferguson. As Terrence Ferguson grows in confidence, he becomes that much more trouble for defenders. And that Chicago secondary, that Chicago defense is vulnerable, is really vulnerable. Let's see. Michael Negretti, Pastor Joe, McVay should use a halfback options or a quarter pitch back to the running back, get more creative. I think so. I'm not against anything McVay does. Shanahan does those things because I think Shanahan has to. And I'm going to have a statement here about the 49ers here in a minute. And I know we're getting closer to game time, guys, so I'll keep rolling through here. $5 Steve, nice George Allen reference, Joe, on Ram weather. You know, I probably read that. I did not. I'll say I did as reference to George Allen because, yeah, I'm sure I heard that somewhere before. Michael Negretti, Pastor Joe, did McVay blow it by letting Demarcus Robinson leave? We could have used him. Yet I had to pay him more money. Yeah, of course you could have used Demarcus Robinson. But, you know, he made his choice. McVay made his choice, $10 million to Tutu. That's on McVay. Don't take it out on Tutu. That's on McVay. And again, what were they thinking? You know, they drafted Ferguson. I have to believe in some of the ways they're using Ferguson this year, more snaps out wide than actually in line, that they probably envisioned that. And maybe DeMarcus, with no injuries happening, would not have gotten as many snaps. I like DeMarcus Robinson. You know, and then he had that little altercation there. Was it the DUI or something? But he wouldn't have got this many touches in LA this year. All right, let me keep rolling here real quick. You know, my name is Joe Terozzi. I was a sports writer for 21 years, and I write books called FanView and RamView, and be sure to check that out. And Ram Cave from the Ram Cave on Amazon, and be sure to check out our sponsor, Kistler Law, who's just awesome, right? Who's just awesome, and I'll be telling you more about sports ball games. I'm going to try to squeeze another show in tomorrow night, late tomorrow afternoon, and talk more about the playoff picture. The reason I'm doing it on Tuesday is because just my schedule this week. I might have to do one of the broadcasts. I might very well be doing it from camp, and you'll see a different background and people behind me probably. But just letting you guys know in advance that I'll be out of the cozy confines of the Ram Cave. Secondary didn't look great yesterday, but other times Bryce Young made perfect throws. He just made perfect throws. I thought Kobe Durant, even though he got the pick, I thought he was picked on more. And I thought it was really interesting because I hear a lot of other in Rams media always defer to PFF. every week when PFF comes out, they've always graded out Emmanuel Forbes poorly. Emmanuel Forbes scored like a B. He was in the 72 range, right? It was probably his best grade that he had all year. And they didn't mention once Emmanuel Forbes. And so I don't trust PFF. I didn't see what else they had out there, but wanted to say that about the secondary. We've talked about it. And I think Lake will be better this week than he was this past week. Little thin in that room. And again, credit to the pass rush for moving Young off his spot. That was good. Maybe what would they call pass rush and lane integrity? So he doesn't get to scramble for a touchdown at the end of the first half. That might be an issue. The block punt didn't feel like it was systemic. Didn't feel like it was something that's been going on all year. If you look, it looks like Isaiah Simmons comes in off Tanner Engel, who's just up from the practice squad, on the practice squad most of the year. He's the one that looked like he got beat, and Simmons, the superior athlete, got to Ethan Evans. But it was just bad mojo, bad memories. And then, of course, Puka Nacua, we talked about that. Witherspoon gone. Colby Parkinson. Xavier Smith struggled. 33 snaps. He had a rough day yesterday. That one where he got called for lining up offsides was brutal. And here we go. Last time the Rams won in Soldier Field, November 16th, 2003, Jeff Wilkins, with 38 seconds left, kicked a 31-yard field goal. That day, it was 48 degrees, and there was no wind and no rain and no snow. All right, got that stuff out of the way. And let's look right here. We won't talk about coaches' openings or anything. Packers, Bears. Packers have to be sick. They just have to be sick to their stomachs. 2 games in Chicago, 2 games won, 2 games given away. Absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. And they screwed over the Rams, and they messed up my book tour. There you go. So I'm upset with the Packers. Bills, Jaguars, I didn't believe it would happen. But yeah, wow. Josh Allen, man, all credit. If it's not the Rams, I want it to be Josh Allen. 49ers and Eagles, and this is where I want to kind of give my props. I don't want Kyle Shanahan to be my head coach, at least in the fourth quarter, but give them props, right? I thought they had run out of duct tape and baling wire, but apparently they haven't. And now the Eagles are in disarray, but still, to go in there all beaten up and all year, what a great win for the 49ers. You can hate them, but you got to respect them. I think the Rams clobber them if they play them again, but you got to respect them, and Kyle Shanahan should be coach of the year. I know that, I don't want to be blinded here by our 49er hate, but they've done a great job. That was a great win. Full credit to Christian McCaffrey playing all 17 games this year, and I was doubting he could, and he did, and he's just been great this year. Now, I heard Colin Cowherd say he's one of the top 3 running backs of his lifetime. Sorry, Christian McCaffrey is not Marshall Faulk. Okay, so run along to Camp Snoopy, Colin Cowherd. But Christian McCaffrey was terrific, and then Trent Williams. He only missed 2 games this year. At his age, he keeps producing. So I bag on the 49ers on their age and their contracts. Unfortunately, the George Kittle thing is kind of sad for him. Seems like a good dude, but they find a way, right? Baling wire, duct tape, right? And they make it work. So congratulations to them. Chargers just ran out of gas. Herbert and Harbaugh are not enough. H&H was not enough. And they lost the third H there in Hampton. It was not enough to overcome the Patriots. I was starting to believe, but again, Spanos Juju is a lot of bad juju there. And they won. And it was only 16-3. It was 9-3. It was a low-scoring game for most of it. Couple breaks here or there. But anyone that says Justin Herbert's not a good quarterback is a fool. Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. And, he didn't get a playoff win. Matthew Stafford lost 3 playoff games before he came to L.A. And there was someone on Twitter that said if that's the trajectory, then we'll take Justin Herbert off their hands in a couple years gladly if he can live that long. The Chargers never would have made it to the postseason. They never would have won 11 games without their starting tackles, without their running backs, with no great receiver in their prime. And Justin Herbert got them to the playoffs. And if you wanted to give a MVP vote to Justin Herbert, I would applaud and be all over it. But to say he's a bad quarterback, tell me how something that lets me know you don't know anything about football, like Skip Bayless. then I'll tell you, you don't know anything about football if you think Justin Herbert's a bad quarterback. Texans Steelers tonight. I'll root for the Steelers if it's a better window for the Rams. Go Steeler fan Rob. But my pick is for the Texans. I think the Texans are going to win. So let me look at your questions here because we're getting closer to game time, and I don't want to bug you guys. Steeler fan Rob, go Steelers. Oh, yeah, baby. If it helps the Rams window, go Steelers, right? ESG, Xavier Smith had a good tackle as a special teamer. All right, you're right. I'll give you that. ESG, go figure out of the Rams, 49ers, and Packers. I had the Packers as a sure in and the 49ers as a long shot. If we're talking at the start of the year, yeah, me too. I thought everyone was talking about how great the 49ers were going to be because the schedule was so soft, but I said they're not going to stay healthy. For the most part, Kittle was out after week 1, not too much longer than that. Bosa was out, and then midway through the season, Warner was out, and they just kept having luck. You know, if Kyron Williams doesn't fumble, right, we win that game. So they held it together though, and the Packers, if you remember watching some Colin Cowherd in September, it was like, oh, Packers haven't won. That's all won, right? Would Micah Parsons have made a difference in this game? I'm just asking because I've never seen Micah Parsons make a difference in a big game. Kind of like he's like the Eric Karros, the home run that doesn't matter. He's going to get that one, right? But I'm not a big Micah Parsons guy, not for the money they pay. All right, January 12th, likely be on the air tomorrow. But 10 years ago today, Rams announced they're returning to Los Angeles, and it was a great day. My friends and I, we started Mid-Valley Sports around my kitchen table back in 99, and with 2 laptops and a floppy and dial-up connection. And the goal was to be ready when the Rams came back. We really believed the Rams were coming back, and they did. So Rams return on this day in 2016. On this day in 2017, Sean McVay hired as head coach. Whoa, right? Whoa. So that is a great one to share. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Good. All right, let's look at one more thing. Okay, negative on this day, 1986 title game. Rams lose in Chicago, 24-0. I don't want to spend any time on that one. But on this day in 2018, C.J. Anderson, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. Todd Gurley, 115 yards and a touchdown. Dante Fowler gets a sack. The Cowboys kicker that day was Brett Maher, and the Rams won that game 30-22 on a Saturday, and then took care of business in New Orleans and went to the Super Bowl. God bless Nicole Roby Coleman, right? There we go. Okay, so let me finish this up here with you guys. I do appreciate you hanging with me up to kickoff. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Go figure. Oh, in the playoff bracket. Okay. All right. I was rooting for the Packers, man. I was rooting for the Packers. I wanted to sell books. Willie Bowen, congratulations, Kobe Parkinson. And I guarantee you after that game Husick had for the 49ers yesterday at fullback, Willie Bowen is just going to double down on making sure the Rams draft a fullback going forward at some point this year, right? In this offseason. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I do appreciate it. I will be back on the air tomorrow, late and in the afternoon, but I will be back on. God bless. Take care. Listen to some Proud Heritage, and we will see you soon.